Okay, so words. That's our topic tonight. Words, communication, the tongue. So we've been created by a God who speaks. I think that's quite important. We've been created by a God who speaks. He communicates with words. You think about it, he created the world, the whole universe, by speaking. He spoke everything into existence, and we've been made in his image. So we have a need for words. Words are like air that we breathe. Words are like food that we eat, water that we drink. Words are essential to us. For you to make yourself understood, you're going to need to use words. For you to be known, you have to use words. And we need to hear words as well. And the book of Proverbs has lots to say about words, the tongue, and speech. I think it's the second most talked about thing in the whole book of Proverbs, apart from wisdom, which we know Proverbs is all about. And essentially, the whole talk tonight can be encapsulated in one sentence, which is essentially, we need to learn to speak wisely. It is extremely important. It can make or break your life. We need to learn to speak wisely because it can make or break your life. Now, it's very easy to sit here thinking, I know all this. I know how important words are. I'm 50 years old. I've got it nailed. Well, I know who this would be good for. Someone on my mind, they always speak in this way or that way. No, I don't think we can think like that. We all have something to learn here. Certainly I have. It's been on my mind in the week in the office, so it's popped up a few times in conversation. So yes, our tongue, words. So we just need to engage with God's word this evening. So we're going to look at this under two headings: the power of our words, and secondly, the character of our words. So the power of our words. And we're really thinking about this in a negative way, which isn't necessarily ideal, but we haven't got time to do everything. So the first point is the power of our words. Now, if you take a huge supertanker, the biggest supertanker you can think of, or a container ship, just think of how enormous they are. I think they weigh up to 500,000 tons or something in a dry dock. Huge. And in James, so we're carrying on from what Dad was saying, we're in the book, just touching on James. He's talking about words. And he's not talking about necessarily a supertanker, but he's talking about a huge ship. And in James 3 verse 4, he says, "Look also at ships, although they are so large and are driven by fierce winds, they are turned by a very small rudder wherever the pilot desires." And he's talking about words and how important words are. And what he's saying is, take a huge tanker, it's the rudder that has the power. And I say, really, it has the power? Well, it has the power to influence the direction of that tanker. The rudder's good and working correctly, it has the power to send that tanker in the right direction. If the rudder is slightly iffy or faulty, it can cause havoc. And we saw that, didn't we, with Baltimore Bridge? A huge tanker, the rudder goes slightly wonky, and it destroys the whole bridge and causes absolute chaos. And in our life, he's saying words have power. They are powerful, and they can be used positively or negatively. Okay, so, power. First thing, power to wound. We just got to say some of these things. The second half is longer and it's more positive, but first thing to say is words have power to wound. Proverbs 12 verse 18. Reckless, that's on our list, isn't it? There we go. Yeah. Proverbs 12 verse 18, halfway down the page. Reckless words pierce like a sword. Reckless words pierce like a sword. This is saying that words can have power to do damage that can't be fixed. When you say a word, you can never make it as if you had never said that word. Once you've said it, it's said. It can never be as if it wasn't said. When you're typing something, you just press whatever that keystroke is and you go backwards and, yeah. Sometimes, with words you can't do that, can you? Once it's said, it is said, and it can never ever be that it wasn't said. And words can have a damaging effect that actually can't ever be completely taken away. I mean, if you look at the illustration there, what's he saying? He's saying, where is it? Reckless words pierce like a sword. Going with a sword, there's a wound there immediately. You can take the sword out, but, there's a scar there probably for life. That's if the person survives. So there's a scar there forever. So Words can wound. So what are examples of those kind of words? Slashing, cutting, hurting words that do damage. Well, maybe it doesn't necessarily come to mind immediately, but sometimes you can make a very rash or reckless promise to somebody. You set up this huge expectation that it's amazing or something significant's going to happen, but it was a reckless statement. It wasn't actually true. You are way over promising. And then what follows is crushing disappointment for that person, and maybe that disappointment might never be taken away. So those slashing words, you might not think of it, but it might be a really reckless promise you make to somebody which then gets dashed, and that leaves a wound. Sometimes we ourselves can make rash statements about something. You say something extremely rash in the heat of the moment. Maybe it doesn't hurt the other person, but you really damaged yourself. Your reputation is absolutely destroyed by what you've just said. You might have said something in an open forum or in a meeting or somewhere at school, and you say something, and wow, you might as well have just stabbed yourself because you've just scarred yourself. Very, very damaging. So we can make rash, reckless promises. We can make rash statements about things, wreck our own reputation. We can probably think of people that we know who have actually done that, maybe done that in front of us, and we've never thought of them the same since. Certainly, though, we can make rash or reckless criticisms of others, and this is what we're probably most familiar with. Those cutting remarks, those rash criticisms that can wreck relationships forever, aren't they? They can sour relationships forever, never really healed. But he doesn't just say that words can wound, he also says, nearly near the bottom, was it 4 from the bottom? 2, 3, 4. The tongue has the power of life and death. The tongue has the power of life and death. So power to kill. More than wound, power to kill. And I think you have to say, what does it actually mean? I think first of all we have to say that words have the power to actually physically kill people. Maybe we can think of events in history where words have been the cause of murder, or words have been the start of a war. Tim Keller, when he was preaching this, he mentioned that he knew of situations where people have been really critical of somebody else and they've gone away and they've killed themselves, committed suicide. And I'm sure that must be the case, and that must happen, where people have just said really hurtful things or said something, or even by their silence have destroyed somebody else. So words certainly have the case to kill physically, but I think it's broader than that. They have power to kill relationships. That's definitely the case. Because he goes on in another verse. Where is it? Proverbs 16 verse 28. Proverbs 16 verse 28. A perverse man stirs up dissension, and a gossip separates close friends. So we're created to have relationships with one another. Relationships are extremely precious. We know that. But it's saying here that gossip and lies absolutely kill relationships. Because the thing is, why does that actually happen? When you think about it, straight away you're lying to somebody, you're putting a barrier up between you and them. You've got to watch what you say. You've got to be careful you don't say something and you drop yourself in it because, oh yeah, that's right, I said that happened. So straight away you're having to watch what you're saying. And you start to become isolated from that person because of what you've done. Maybe you used to be really friendly with them, intimate with them, but it's not the same. So if we lie to our family, if we lie to our friends, if we lie, we end up destroying relationships, killing relationships. So we've seen the power of our words, particularly negative words. Right, let's move on to positively. What should the character of our words be then? So the Bible tells us what kind of speech we need to receive from others and the kind of speech we need to give. So this is about the kind of speech you would want to have from others and the kind of speech that we should really give. 5 characteristics, and I'll just mention them here, but I'll go through them. So you don't have to remember them. We need truthful, honest speech rather than deceptiveness. We need kind and gentle speech rather than harshness. Apt and timely speech rather than carelessness. direct and courageous speech instead of gossip. And we need economical speech rather than impulsiveness. Okay, so first of all, speech has got to be honest and not deceptive. So Proverbs 12 verse 17, a truthful witness gives honest testimony, but a false witness tells lies. So that's pretty straightforward, isn't it? Be honest, don't tell lies. But notice when you get to chapter 15 verse 4, the tongue that brings healing is the tree of life, but the deceitful tongue crushes the spirit. So it's more than not lying. It's saying you mustn't deceive. Now, it's definitely possible to, as we know, to say something that's technically true, but is a bit deceptive, that is deceptive. So when someone says to you, yes, but it wasn't really a lie, what are they saying? They're saying, well, I technically told the truth, but in actual fact, they deceived. So when we tell the truth, but we're being deceptive, we're lying. Okay? You're saying, no, there is to be no deception. So the impact of lying and being deceptive. Now, I mentioned the fact it can kill relationships. So when you tell lies to somebody, it causes a barrier. But there's something else as well. Think about it. When you deceive somebody, you're denying them the right to actually know the whole truth. It's like you're kind of covering up part of the truth, throwing something over it so they can't actually see the whole truth. Why is that a problem? Or is that a problem? Well, it is, because every day we wake up, we make decisions based on the truth that we know, don't we? If you're deceiving somebody, you're not being honest with them, you're ruining their ability to make a good judgment, make a good decision about something. Obviously, the more reality we know, the smarter our decisions are. That makes total sense. The less reality people know, the more destructive the decisions are going to be. So we mustn't deceive. We've got to be absolutely honest and true in our words. So first of all, speech has got to be honest and not deceptive. Secondly, speech has got to be gentle and kind. Proverbs 15 verse 1. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. A gentle answer turns away wrath. Gentle. What does that mean? What does it mean? If there's a topic that someone really doesn't want you to talk about, do you just kind of skirt around it a little bit? I won't mention that. I'm being gentle. I just won't go there. Well, I think it's helpful if you look at that verse. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So it's split into two. And we've got the first half, a gentle answer turns away wrath. First half, sorry. And the second half, a harsh word stirs up anger. It's the antonym or the opposite. And the word harsh here in the Hebrew actually translates as to do with inflicting pain. So this first part that says, gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. And that harsh word is all about inflicting pain on somebody. So here it is. Gentle speech can be direct. Gentle speech can be argumentative, a bit of backwards and forwards. It can be contradictory. It might be not what that person wants to hear. But it is not about inflicting pain. That's what this verse is saying. You're not there to put the person in their place. You're not there to prove them wrong just for the sake of it. You're not there to belittle them. The opposite's true. In your tone, in your purpose, in your motivation, it's loving and kind. That's the impetus or the drive behind it. So I'll just go over that again. So gentle speech can be direct, it can be argumentative, it can be a little bit contradictory to the hearer. You're telling them something they don't want to hear. But it's all about the motive, I guess, that's driving that conversation. Is it being said with kindness and love? It's not there to be harsh or hurtful. It's not about putting them in their place or proving them wrong just for the sake of it. And I think we see the impact of speaking gently in Proverbs 25 verse 15. Really it's saying there's nothing more persuasive than gentleness. That's quite interesting, isn't it? 25 verse 15. A word, 25, 15. The bottom one. Through patience a ruler can be persuaded and a gentle tongue can break a bone. It's just like an idiom. So a commentator says to break a bone means to break down the most hardened resistance to an idea a person can have. Just like a saying, to break a bone. a gentle tongue can break a bone. Basically saying it is very persuasive if you're speaking gently and with love and with kindness. So harshness won't win, sarcasm won't win, the put down won't win. I guess you might win the battle, but you don't win the war. So speech has got to be honest and gentle. That's our first two. 3, speech has got to be wise and apt. What do we mean by that? Well, there's several words here that are important, or several verses. It's all about being wise and apt. So speaking very clearly, suitably to the person, crafting your words. Proverbs 10, verse 32. So it's halfway through that verse. Proverbs 10, 32. The lips of the righteous know what is fitting. Literally translates as delightful. So you choose your words, you adapt your words to be so suitable that they are moving, they're compelling, they're delightful to the person listening. They totally get what you're saying. So we choose our words, we adapt them so they're moving and compelling, but that's not all. Proverbs 25, verse 11. Second to bottom, a word aptly spoken. We've got the word aptly. Aptly is like apples of gold in settings of silver. And here, to do with being apt here is to do with timing. So yeah, what you're saying might be totally true, but if you're saying it at the wrong time, it's not going to be listened to. So this is about adapting it for the time. So it's choosing the right words, being fitting. And now it's talking about the timing of your words. If you want your words to be listened to, it's about timing as well, adapted to the time. There's another one. Third verse, Proverbs 24, verse 26. You might have noticed it if you read it and thought, oh, that's an unusual one. And you might not think this is to do with being apt at all. Proverbs 24, verse 26. An honest answer is like a kiss on the lips. We're all thinking, oh, it must be because it's lovely and sweet and, how cute that is. It's not to do with that, really. I actually looked up this guy's writing, Herodotus, writing about 500 years BC. And it's the only place in the Bible, actually, that mentions this kiss on the lips, because it is different to what we're expecting it to be about. I think we just assume it's to do with love or showing affection or tenderness. One commentator explains what it's really saying. And he quotes Herodotus, who was writing at 500 years BC. And you can look this up. It's actually in his writings. When one man meets another, it's easy to see if they're equals, for then, without speaking, they kiss on the lips. If there's a small difference in rank between them, it is the cheek that is kissed. But if it is a great difference in rank between them, the humbler bows or kneels. So this is about a greeting. If they were equitable or level, then they would kiss on the lips. If there was a slight difference between them, you kiss on the cheek. If not, one would bow before the other one. And it sounds a bit odd, doesn't it? But it was to do with equity or being equal to. So what this is saying is the person who speaks needs to craft their words to get them the truth across in such a way that they are totally in sync, as it were, at the same level. Not on top, down at them, underneath, pleading up with them. No, talking in an equitable way. So Kelly gives this example. I'm going to give it. Probably won't be able to tell it in exactly the same way, but I'm going to give it a go. He says there's a husband and a wife and a family. And this is talking about that communication that's crafted. And it's like a kiss on the lips in terms of speaking directly and clearly. There's a husband and a wife and a family. In the past, in his family, everything was alluded to. It wasn't all out in the open or direct and transparent. There'd be little hints. Well, darling, I really don't think Well, we're very gentle and hints here and there. Nothing really out in the open. But that was enough. Everyone understood. A little hint or a little subtle nod here. That all made sense. In her family, totally different. Okay, it would be out in the open. Say it as it was. Maybe a bit of a bust up. Everything's forgotten about. Life carries on. They come together. it's quite different now. What's he going to do? She says, I didn't know you felt that way, but I did tell you. No, you didn't tell me. I did a couple of weeks ago, remember? You didn't tell me. As far as he's concerned, he said something. As far as she's concerned, she hasn't heard anything. His little hint, totally missed. Because she's used to really open, direct, transparent language. That's not how he normally speaks. They weren't communicating, they weren't on the same level. So this is about actually making sure when you craft your words, you're speaking in a way that people can totally understand. So, Tim Keller says, no, he didn't find her lips. That's not communication. It's not apt. And I think we have to say it's not easy to do this. Proverbs 25, verse 11, a word aptly spoken is like apples of gold in settings of silver. I think you have to say that's craftsmanship. This is about crafting. And if you craft it right, I've never seen an apple of gold in settings of silver. Maybe it's a metaphor for, I don't know. But I'm pretty certain if you saw it, you'd think, wow, that's amazing, that's beautiful, that's exquisite. And I think that's what this language is. If you get it right, it's beautiful, it's well crafted, it's pretty special, it's stand-out language. So we need truthful words, we need gentle and kind words, we need apt words that are suitable, timely, well crafted. Speech has got to use direct words though. So Proverbs 10 verse 18, he who conceals his hatred has lying lips. So maybe there's something that's got you going, something that you think is totally wrong, unjust, but you hold your tongue, you don't say anything about it. Well, that's not right either. The verse is about being direct, open, transparent, courageous. So, I think there's a challenge that comes to us now when we're listening to all this, because some of us find it easy to speak with kindness and gentleness and aptness. Some of us find it easier to speak directly, openly, transparently. So the challenge comes like this. If you're really concerned about kindness, gentleness and aptness, then there's probably a good chance that you don't find it easy to be transparent and open. Conversely, if you're a very truthful, direct person, you possibly tend not to focus on kindness, gentleness and aptness. But we need both kinds of words. We need truthful, honest speech, and kind and gentle speech, and apt and timely speech, and direct and open speech. And you can't say, well, 99% of the time, I'm open and direct and transparent, and the other, was it 1%? 99%? 1%. The other 1%, I'm kind and thoughtful about how I speak, and I'm timely, and I just get my words about right. It doesn't really work like that. This is about the whole time. It's about crafting our speech. So we have to focus on what it is that we know we need to actually focus on. We can't just focus on 2 out of 4 and say that will do. That's not really how it works. Finally, we need economical speech. Economical. Careful. Economical. Not too many. You're going to choose your words carefully. So it's not an abundance of speech, it's economic speech. Why? Proverbs 10 verse 19. So many brilliant verses here, aren't there? And some of them are written in such a humorous way. But anyway, Proverbs 10 verse 19. When words are many, sin is not absent. When words are many, sin is not absent. So when words are many, sin is absent. You've got to put it the other way around. But he who holds his tongue is wise. So when words are many, sin is not absent, it is there. But he who holds his tongue is wise. Maybe you know people who are slow to speak. I need to work on that too. It's very easy, isn't it? To rush into something and say something very quickly and not take the time and say too much. So if you're not sure what to say, well, I guess best not to say anything. Take the time to respond. Be happier to listen. That's hard to do as well, I know. But it's a skill to be slow to speak. Maybe you're in a situation you think, I don't know how to respond to that. It doesn't matter, take your time. And I think the idea of if you say a lot of words you're likely to sin makes sense based on what we've just looked at. If you are really going to take some time to be truthful enough, kind enough, apt, timely, direct, well crafted. You can't be saying too many words, can you? Let's be honest. It's impossible to be careful if we say loads and loads of words. I think that's what it's saying. So let's just go over this. Just wrap it up. So we've seen that words can be very powerful, and the book of Proverbs says that learning to speak wisely is extremely important. It can make or break your life if you get it wrong. Injure yourself, injure others. We've seen that words have the power to wound, power to kill physically, power to kill relationships. And we've considered the kind of speech we need to receive from others and the kind of speech we need to give. So, truthful and honest, kind and gentle. Okay, kind and gentle still can be direct and pointed, and argument, a bit of argument going on, but it's the motive that drives it. Aptly and timely, direct and courageous, so actually say it, and economical speech rather than impulsiveness. So just to finish, let's just read those last 4 Proverbs I've got there. It'd be interesting to know which one your favourite out of that lot is. The last 4. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. An honest answer is like a kiss on the lips. A word aptly spoken is like apples of gold in settings of silver. And through patience a ruler can be persuaded, and a gentle tongue can break a bone. Okay, let's have our next hymn. That's Harry's order of service. Number 17. King of kings, majesty, God of heaven living in me, gentle saviour, closest friend, strong deliverer, beginning and end.
Born